All right, what's up, guys? How are you? I'm Connor Ferguson here with Damon Helgevald. We're back with another episode of the Always Race Day podcast. Good to be back, Damon. How are you?
I'm good, man. It's always good to be back, and I guess better late than never, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So we kind of scaled back some stuff, and I'm now fully with Always Race Day, and that's going to be the project moving forward full time for me, and really excited for the whole thing, the whole um, shebang of it, and being able to focus all my energy on one entity. And that being said, if you're interested, or if you know anyone that's interested in partnering up with us, we want to get advertisers here. We want to get your businesses or whatever entity you want to put out there. We want to get you guys in front of the eyes of the people, and could not can't wait to kind of reveal what we've been working on and everything about it. But uh, wanted to make it as affordable as we can, and that's what we're trying to do. So feel free to reach out. My Twitter DMs are always open. My email address is on there on my pinned tweet, and tons of stuff, or I should say, tons of places to reach me. But yeah, feel free to reach out or connect me with anyone that you may know. That being said, we got some World of Outlaws action to talk about from the weekend.
Yeah, quite a bit of stuff going on this weekend across the board, but obviously you had the busy weekend in Knoxville. Kind of take us a quick highlight. What did you see both Friday and Saturday?
Yeah, so obviously David Gravel took the win on Friday night. Corey Day followed up by holding him off late on Saturday. I think if that race was won maybe 2 laps longer, Gravel might get there. But we'll start with him, I guess. Is he was filtering through traffic really well. That's hard to do at Knoxville, to steadily climb and keep climbing throughout a race. And Gravel was able to do that both nights. And I know they want to qualify better. I know that that's a focus on all these teams, especially when they get in that World of Outlaws format. But just to see him be able to maneuver through the field like that, and we've seen a few people do it this year. We kind of talk about different things. Through each season where, this is different this year. The tires are different. The track, the new dirt is different, right? This year, it seems there's a lot of movers through traffic, more than we've seen in years past on any given week. And that's going to make for a really interesting Knoxville Nationals, which is right around the corner, whether we like it or not.
You know what I found was interesting from a weekend sitting at home is last year's June winners were both the exact same in
Oh,
both
did
the
Gravel win that other one too?
yes, Gravel won the first race, Day won the second race. Like identical stuff. It's
Heck yeah.
something we're going to talk about here in the later portion of the show. But Friday night in particular, Gravel goes from ninth to first to win it. You mentioned going through traffic throughout the night. That's kind of been their hindrance, right? If he's not starting up front, he doesn't necessarily win the show. Well, now he kind of proved a lot of those people wrong.
Yeah, that's what he said to me the other night too, was everyone's saying I can only win from the front, so it's good to get one from eighth every once in a while, right? No, that was huge for him, and he's got 9 wins, as you wrote here this season. It's more than double the next guy, which is Buddy Kofoid with 4. Next guy in points, I should say. I don't. Is there anyone with more than 4?
Not as far as points, I'm sure there is somewhere, but I
Yeah,
don't
no,
know.
I was thinking there is. I don't have the points in front of me right now, but uh, dominant year for David Gravel, and it just keeps getting better for him. He I think extended his points lead, yeah, both nights, and obviously going over to the home track, you would call it, for at least for Big Game Motorsports next week, in a really big spot with $250,000 on the line.
What do you think this does for this team for nationals? Not only from, and we're going to talk again coming up. There's a couple of things that
I
we're
know
going to
we're
talk
kind of
about,
mushing your segment.
but
We're gonna have some segments in the middle of the
there
show.
are.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing I want to get from this is what do you think this does for that group, for the two car in particular? What does this do for that group?
So if I would go strictly based on results, I'd tell you absolutely nothing. But I do think they got more out of this weekend than they did last year with as far as how the car behaves in traffic, how it moved forward. And just to have that in your back pocket. And I know Cody Jacobs wants nationals real bad. And that whole team. Obviously, everyone wants to win nationals. You guys got to call me when I'm saying, you got to call me out, Damon, when I'm speaking in these cliches. But no, it's that traffic part is going to help a lot because clean air is so advantageous at that racetrack and in racing in general across the board in 2025. It's so huge to be in clean, undisrupted air with no wicker bills in front of you. And that's going to be a huge deal if they end up, coming to Knoxville and not doing so hot at any point in the night. Or, we've seen David Gravel wreck in the first heat race. You're starting in eighth. You have to figure out how to get through traffic, and you got to do it quick. So that part is going to help them as far as is this going to change their approach to nationals? I doubt it. Uh, it just, yeah. They all say the dirt is different in August. All the teams here say that. Last time I talked to Kyle Larson, he was like, I don't get why anyone says that. It's always the same every time I go. Even when they changed to the new dirt, he's like, I couldn't tell the difference at all. So, yeah, I guess it depends on who you ask, but definitely some momentous stuff for them.
Staying with the outlaw side of stuff, obviously, Gio Scelzi, he led early, started up front, led early, ended up fading to sixth as the race went on. Car kind of went away from him a little bit. And then big names that had to use provisionals on the first night, Donnie Schatz, Cole Macedo, Chris Wyndham, and Zach Hampton all had to use provisionals on night one for the World of Outlaws. Big deal in that setting.
I think it was Connor Morell. There's five on the first night. I
Was that
think he
five?
used one too.
I
Yeah, and when I read this earlier, I counted five and I just miscounted. So, not that we're keeping track of the provisionals or anything like that, but Shots has had, and I'll get to Gio real quick. Shots has had some struggles in World of Outlaws races that aren't the Knoxville Nationals in recent years, and for it's just for whatever reason. They haven't been able to hit it here, and obviously they go to the engine change and do all that. And now they need speed, and now they got to figure out how to make this one go quick. And I will say that you can't doubt you can't just count Donnie out, no matter what.
well,
Even this is at least going to help them get a little closer to where they need the eight ball to be.
I think that was the thing that I noticed that sticks out to me just going back previous years, not even this year, but past years. Donnie struggles at Knoxville any other time that's not related to the Nationals. Like go back the last 4 years, and I think he's been mid-pack to less in these early shows,
Yeah.
the June show. And so now you go to Nationals week, and all of a sudden he's that front runner in everything. So there's something about him in August at Knoxville that meshes well. Something about him in June is not good.
Yeah, I'm completely with you there, and we'll see if he can get that turned around. They had, I think, five straight top tens coming into Knoxville, so I was kind of surprised to see him struggle, but is what it is, especially at that racetrack. Back to, I did want to say, Gio, did you see how many KCP people were in the backstretch?
A
There's like
lot of
2,000 people there wearing Geo shirts in the backstretch, and it was a KCP racing thing that they invited them out to. That super cool to have that and like have that for sprint car racing and have the fans there. I'm really sick of the fans that have never been to Knoxville going, man, rough looking crowd tonight. I'm like, the grandstands are massive, dude. That would fill most of the tracks on the schedule at least. The one being not is Bristol, but and
well, and
obviously that one's not there.
it doesn't help when the majority of the camera shot is from showing the backstretch, who
Yeah.
uh, doesn't fill up until those 4 days in August. So
Yeah, and I went back and I was watching a old Knoxville Nationals video over the weekend, and it was like Wednesday or Thursday night, and the backstretch was basically empty. It was like 2008, 2009. So it just shows you how much bigger that event's gotten over the years. So I can't wait for that. And
and
I'm Gio's
go
got to
ahead,
turn.
talk about Gio's night in particular. I don't know if you had a chance to talk to him after the fact on Friday But you're up front, you led, I think, 8 laps out of the gate, and then basically was a non-factor after that.
Yeah, Gio and I were talking about some personal stuff, so I didn't talk to him about the race a lot. So that's on me, guys. My bad. Yeah, doing some
Do
life
your
updates
damn
back and forth.
job.
Yeah, well, we're working on that, right? Someday, just pester Gio about it. Say you want the show. Say you want him to keep doing the show with us. It's not that he's going to do the show with someone else, and I'm trying to swing him to our side or anything. He wants to focus on the race car and get the race car fast, and then he'll worry about the show after. That's all it is. And they have struggled a little bit this year, but that kid has a lot of talent. And as long as that team is committed to staying with, and they've shown me no inclination that they are not. But as long as they're committed to working through this and getting out of this, I don't want to call it a slump because he's still running pretty well with these guys. But they need some wins, they need some speed, and they're right there. It's not like they're far off. So we'll see what happens to him the rest of the season. I'm looking forward to seeing him at Houston. I think this week, and we'll talk about Houston more in a sec, but there's, quite a bit of storylines that could get a little better for a lot of Californians that grew up running bull rings. So I'm really excited to get up there.
Moving into the rest of Friday, the other big showing, quote unquote, local team, Kerry Madsen. How
Yeah,
about that? 12 laps, legitimate shot to win an outlaw show.
I thought he
That was,
had it.
I did too.
Yeah, and that's kind of been the case at Knoxville this year too. And this is kind of more over the years type of deal. But some cars will gradually come to you as the race goes on, and you'll pick up speed later in the run. And some cars will gradually fall away from you. And that was what happened with Kerry. He had bad fast speed for the first half of that race. First, I want to say 17, 18 laps. It wasn't until about seven to go, I thought, when Gravel's car really took off and was going around him. And Kerry has had a tough few years since they've started this new team. A lot of wrecks, a lot of bad wrecks. Not to differentiate, they all suck, right? When you're bending stuff up. But it has really impressed me the last few weeks. They've been anywhere from second to fourth, and they haven't knocked the monkey off the back with a win there. And that's what I talked to him on Friday about it. It's like, is it frustrating? Does it give you momentum to run like that? And he's like, I'll take podiums every night, upside down and left and right, and
Maybe
that
not
was cool to
upside
see.
down.
I threw in that terrible rhyme, and I wasn't trying to. I swear to God, that's not something cute I was trying to do. But no, it's cool to see because he is a fantastic talker, and a fantastic race car driver among that too.
Yeah, the guy, and what was neat to be someone who was watching through Dirt Vision on Friday night was the fact that he legitimately looked like he belonged up front. Like that was a car that was built to win that race that night with that speed. And I mean, he showed it, took it to him. And I don't think it was necessarily his car that went away. I just think it was Gravel's that got so much better as the race went on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's just the nature of it that Gravel had that speed and his car really didn't have that speed the first part of the night and he came from eighth, right? So he had
Yeah,
to get up there and take the time to get around those people. But I thought that car really came alive late in that one. So
most
we go to
definitely.
Saturday?
Yeah, moving on to Saturday. Corey Day wins night number two. Not only wins it, but hangs on. And as you mentioned before, I think if there was another, I would say if there was another turn, Corey Day was going to lose.
Yeah. Oh, one more corner.
I
That's
I
it.
think I think one more corner and he was going to lose. And I have this in here as the question coming up too is, do you think that Gravel gets by without that lap car in the middle of 3 and 4 that slowed him up? I don't see why he wouldn't have.
He was gaining about 8/10 a lap, but I do want to say that Corey ran a better last lap until that lap car was there.
Mhm.
And I don't think Gravel would have gotten there. I think it would have taken one more lap, but Gravel it was 8/10 the last three of the last four laps, I want to say. So lap 20, why do I need to do math in my head? With four to go with one to go, those three laps right there. I think he gained about 8 tenths a lap on him, and it was a 2.7 or so. I'm trying to photographic
Yeah,
memory
no,
my race
that
pass.
sounds right. It was like 2.5 seconds back, and then all of a sudden, he kind of threw a bonsai move into 3 and 4 to see if it would stick, and it did until the lap car happened to just be there in front of him. So that was it was a good race. The other thing that I noticed too on this, and I didn't mention it, but I'm pretty sure both nights went caution free, did they not in the
Yeah,
feature?
yeah, both features were caution
I was
free.
gonna
I
say.
was talking, I sent because Gravel posted the whole race from Friday, and I was sending it to one of my friends, Formula One fan. He's like, it was 6 minutes long. Like, you're there for hours on end, and you watch a
seven
race
minutes
that's
and
6 minutes.
I looked at the time because I was going to mention it and I forgot to write it down. 7 minutes and like 52 seconds, and the other one was like 7 minutes and 48 seconds.
Yeah, it's quick, and that's why we were talking about this during the NASCAR race. I'd rather see a race go too long than too short, but we're getting too in the weeds of dirt track racing, versus everything else, and what time to get fans out of the stands. But Knoxville's been decent at it this year. That's really all I wanted to say
Yeah.
on that part of things. But yeah, Corey getting that win, and he had a good interview as well with balancing the NASCAR stuff and coming back. And obviously he had that wreck at Eagle. And I asked him what the NASCAR people think of those, and he goes, they don't love them. Not huge fans.
Can't
So
imagine why.
yeah, I mean, they look gnarly. But in the wing, this is what people up there don't get is that wing does so much to help cushion, and so much to, brace the impact that the driver's going to feel as opposed to when you wreck in a non-wing car. And fortunately for this sport, it seems to be that the cars have gotten safer over the years and are still very, very safe today. So I'm amped that he was able to get out of that one.
I think it was his dad actually in the did you watch the 4 episodes of The Dirt on FS1 on the Fox
No,
channel?
but I talked to Ronnie.
So
Talked to his dad.
in that you'll have to go watch it because he talks about the how these carbs absorb hits and when they're flipping they're absorbing the impact, and so that's actually better for them instead of stopping on a halt. And goes through a really good explanation of that, why it's better for the cars to flip and absorb the hits versus stop and then just plant on impact. So
It's one of the most interesting stories to me in the history of motorsports because there's never been an invention that made cars multiple seconds a lap faster and also made them safer,
correct.
right?
Correct.
Like, unless drag racing had one. I don't
No,
know.
no, because they've always gone faster and faster, even in the shorter tracks. So yeah, I got nothing for you.
Yeah. So,
But
um,
you look at what Corey Day did. Really, once he got out front, kind of controlled the pace. Took a little bit. Brad Sweet looked strong. He ended up falling back.
yeah,
Uh,
this is from Third Tracker. This is his stat. He led laps at Outlaws show at Knoxville, and I would think this also includes the Knoxville Nationals, but for the first time since 2022. So,
that's
and
crazy
that
to think about.
it is because of especially with how strong they looked. I think he won in 19, right?
No, he won in.
Was his 18? And Gravels was 19. Yes, that's what it was.
I think it was that. Yeah.
But yeah, just to, once you win one, you're kind of everyone's expectations of you and how you drive at Knoxville are raised, right? So it is crazy to think about though.
Well, let's not throw out the fact that the guy won 4 straight outlaw titles, 5 straight outlaw titles, whatever
Yeah,
it was,
yeah.
and then proceeds to go and win the high limits title on top of he's still at the top of his game when it comes to sprint car racing, and probably still one of the top five if we were to do a power ranking as well. He's still one of the top five drivers that we'd put up there. So you think about something like that, you want to you think that the guy's running up front for all the big shows, and clearly not.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that's just how tough Knoxville is. And obviously that plus, you get everybody to come together and you're running against one another. So I do like how it's set up with High Limit that they want the practice at Knoxville. So that's the part where we kind of got lucky, I guess. We being the race fan, in that they come together for this, pseudo major. It's not a crown jewel, but yeah, it's nice to not see High Limit try to schedule against like a Huset's or something. And I'm not trying to
Yeah.
poke at Super Dirt Cup either because we're going to talk about both those things. But no, it's cool. It's really interesting, and hopefully we get two races in April next year when they come back there. But
Right. The while on the topic of another outlaw, Sheldon starts fifth, fades to 16th, struggled on Friday night. I think he finished mid-20s on Friday night, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah.
Continued Knoxville woes for that 17 crew, and more importantly for Sheldon.
Yeah, it's never been their thing. It's never been their track, and that's okay. That just is what it is. You got to work around it. And I thought at the very least you take, and I'm a look at the positive things kind of guy. I was talking to
Since
Brett Moffitt
when?
on, yeah, right. I was talking to Brett Moffitt on Friday. I was like, and he had a hell of a pace pro race. He wasn't very happy about it. And I said, you want the positive or the negative? And he's like, positive this time. We'll do that. And I was like, well, it looked really good on the start. Like the first 2 seconds of every run was impeccable because the week before it sucked. But so at the very least for Sheldon, they got to a fifth place starting spot, and I think they moved backwards in the dash. But still, just to cement yourself in a dash position, you use the clean air in the heat race perfectly. I think he started in row two in the heat race, and he had to make some moves to get up to a dash spot. So I was impressed with him the first half of the night or first 80%. And, take that and work with that as much as you can if you're Sheldon. But yeah, didn't look great in the feature.
The other guy that stood out to me as someone who we think is an upfront runner at all times when it comes to anything Knoxville, and the guy in the 21 car, Brian Brown, struggled mightily throughout this entire weekend. Uncharacteristic stuff. When you think Knoxville, when you think Brian Brown, doesn't matter if it's a weekly show or an Outlaws event or the Knoxville Nationals, you always consider Brian Brown one of the favorites because of how well he does at the track. Wrecked a car on Friday night, finishes uh, bottom, I think 24th on Saturday night in the feature, if I'm not mistaken. Lot of just odd stuff from that group, I guess.
Yeah, he had a bad wreck on Friday and just got on top of a tire and then flipped the car and scary accident. Glad he's all right. And kind of recovered and had some good moves on Saturday and got to the A main. And yeah, it's just that's what I'm talking about, like the traffic thing. It's really hard for guys. If you start so and so way back, it's going to be tough to maneuver through the traffic going forward. It's going to be hard to, find your footing and continue to make passes throughout the race. I wanted to mention Carson Macedo picked up 10 spots. I think he went
Yep.
22nd to 12th or 11th. Maybe it was
22nd to 11. You're right.
there we go. On Saturday. And that was massive because, we saw him early and he picked up five or six and then he kept getting them and it stalled out a little bit, but he kept getting them. Whereas like a Spencer Baston picked up 10 spots in 2 or 3 laps, I think on Friday and lost six of them before the end of the race. So it's really tough to do, really tough to maneuver your way through the field, especially at Knoxville. And yeah, sometimes you just get caught back there.
When talking to the drivers and the crews after the fact, both Friday and Saturday, what differences, what things did the teams have to say to you about what they saw both nights, and maybe something that they can put in their back pocket come August?
There's a lot of moisture in the track on Friday, and that was really tricky for them, I think, for a few of them. And then obviously on Saturday, it looked a little more typical of a June World of Outlaws date. But as far as like nationals tracks go, the I I do know the weather's different, right? Like there's more moisture through the summer. There's more sun. We haven't had nearly any 90 plus degree days. I think it was probably one of the hottest nights of the year on Saturday. And that has it, it's prevented me from fully taking like, hey, what do you see in the track this week? Is that similar to nationals? Because no one thinks it's going to be. And again, this is from the party that notices the difference in the tracks and the 57 cars right over here, right? So we'll see. And I'm not a track prep wizard or anything, but I thought the surface, I did want to give a shout out to the Duncans. I tweeted them, but Saturday's track was impeccable. It was
Oh,
awesome.
and you could see the difference Friday into Saturday. Friday's track was a lot faster for the feature. Like the fact that drivers were able to move through the field, I think is the more impressive part on Friday night than maybe Saturday. Because like you said, Saturday was a pretty typical midsummer Knoxville looking track. That's what it looked like. So it was pretty typical come Saturday, but Friday being fast, you didn't necessarily expect drivers to move up. And I think on Friday night, Donnie moved up 10 plus spots, was the hard charger. I think Macedo moved up 10 spots on Friday and was a hard charger as well. So that was a big thing in from just a viewership standpoint from everything that you could see on the TV, I guess.
For sure. I'm gonna re-up my energy drink. Do you want is this hot question of the daytime?
Yes. So the hot question of the day, hot question of the week. This is an opportunity as well. If you are looking to expand your business opportunities, contact Connor at Always Race Day. We will be able to give you the hot question of the day, hot question of the week, title, sponsorship, if you so choose. Hot question of the week. Do we as fans take too much into the June midsummer races at Knoxville going into nationals?
It's hard to answer this as a fan because I go into nationals with an open mind. And even if you pay attention to the week before nationals, it doesn't tell you anything about how the A main's going to go on Saturday night, right? So I don't think so. I think it lays the groundwork on who has speed here and who can be fast. You might get some surprise guys that you wouldn't have brought up unless they had a good weekend here. But yeah, overall, I think. I don't know. Can we properly rate the stock? Is that okay? The stock is exactly where it needs to be.
I think no, I think that's a fair statement. I think, you know,
And that
what
was
what
a
I
hell of a crowd on Saturday night, I gotta say. So
absolutely,
that at the very least, the stock there is perfect.
and that's something we're going to talk about in later segments too. But the one thing as someone who was able to sit at home, follow social media as the night goes on, it's interesting to me because there's a lot of people saying on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it these days, the the this guy is going to be good come nationals time, or we really should watch this guy in nationals time. But realistically, outside of the typical top few guys, that hasn't necessarily been the case, right? Gravel won last year's first race in June, finished 12th in the national feature. Corey Day finished third after winning in June. The year before that, Brian Brown was a winner in June, and he finished 14th in the feature on A main night at nationals. So like you said, I think the stock is about where it's at because it's you take a guy like a David Gravel, you take a guy like a Corey Day, and come August, those two guys are going to run up front. You look back into April, right? Rico Abreu wins handedly in April, and we're going to talk about Rico come August. We may not talk about him at all this weekend, even though he ran up front, top 4 or 5 on Friday night, struggled a little bit on Saturday, but still an A feature run from him.
I'd say his best season of his career so far.
Oh, easily best season. We're going to talk about those guys come August, but like you said, maybe a surprise guy here or there, someone that we look out. There's a lot of people always bringing up Donnie Schatz didn't do so hot. Donnie didn't. Again, like we talked about, Donnie's going to show up come August.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's get into a little bit of preview action. We got the High Bank Nationals at Houston this weekend. Without boring you guys to death of me just reading the format out on my phone, I am pulling it up just so I'm looking at it. Uh, but I love what Houston's does because they take points from Wednesday qualifying heat races in the A main and B, features, and they filter that in to make your points for Thursday. And they're doing the same thing from Friday to Saturday. And so it's
Mhm.
kind of two-day events as opposed to one big 4 night to go to the $250 million to win feature on Saturday.
You almost get a reset. It's like
Yeah,
it's an opportunity for you to learn on Wednesday night, learn on Thursday night, and then you get a reset for the quarter of $1 million on Saturday.
yeah. So in, in this sport too, I think I am of the opinion that qualifying heat race, amen, and that being like a midweek show, anytime you go to the track, any special event, the format's the same. It's all 1 day show, and they'll spend 3 days at a track running three 1 day shows. And I'd rather see let's do some points, put some more money onto Saturday, especially throughout the field, not just to win. And let's, run for points and then scrap qualifying the last night. And the traditionalists aren't going to like that, but what it does, it makes one the whole night shorter, and you're gonna have enough cars at these big races to make the night plenty long already. So, and I'm not advocating like we got to get out of the track. I don't like being at the racetrack, but it it's just so much cooler to me when we're gonna spend hours upon end doing a prelim night. And then we come to the track and we know what the heat races are going into it. And everyone knows their situation. Instead of spending hours upon hours qualifying and coming the next day and qualifying the cars again by way of 2 lap time trial, right?
Are you saying this as more of a, like two-day shows or 3 day and bigger shows?
Anything, it could
Because I guess
anytime you're spending multiple days at a track and you want to make this event big. I'm not advocating that Knoxville for their World of Outlaws show last week should do this for the two, but
that's what I'm
yeah,
asking.
yeah, no,
Because like
just
my thing is, if I'm someone coming in and I experience this in our bowling world, right, where now we have gone into this 2 1 day tournament type setting. So if I'm a crew chief or I'm a driver on one of these cars and we ran really bad on Thursday night or on Friday night, I kind of want to restart on
yeah,
Saturday.
no, I
You
completely get
know,
that. Yeah.
where if I know like okay, I'm running for points on Thursday night, I'm running for points on Friday night to set me up for Saturday, that makes that I can get behind that. But on the devil's advocate side, if I'm someone who just was off the truck really bad on Friday night, I want a complete restart on Saturday.
Yeah, no, I'm completely with you there. But yeah, I do enjoy their format. Some people have said the six invert is too much that they're going to use for heat races, and it's tough, but it does incentivize passing. It does do its job to that extent, and as long as we're giving points out for all three places, I don't have too big of a problem with it. Now, catch me on
You're
Friday. I
also
might. We'll
you're
see.
also paying $250,000 to the winner. Like you want
Yeah,
it
that
to
helps a little bit too, right? It's hard to
you
shit on
want it to
that.
be hard. It shouldn't be Joe Blow rolling off the truck and just happens to catch a lucky night. Um
They just today put out the pre-entry list and some names that are interesting on it. Ashton Torgerson wasn't at Knoxville this weekend in the Shark Racing 1A. He will be at Houston along with Logan Schuchart. Obviously, all the World of Outlaws teams are there, and you guys, kind of know who those guys are. Tim Kading, Caleb Johnson has been really good up there for Dennis Gainey racing, and he's looked the part, as has Ryan Timms. He'll be up there. Casey Kane, Chase Randall, I'm just going through it. I think Corey Day is headed to Skagit, but Spencer Baston for Jason Myers racing in that 14 car will be at Huset's over the weekend. Um, keep going down this list. Rico Abreu will be up there as well as Carson McCarl, our guy. Kerry Madsen, Kyle Larson heading up there as well. Um, it does have Sam Henderson, but no Justin Henderson. He's only been out racing, I think, one night all season. So that's a bit surprising to me, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Justin at the track. We'll hit him up. We'll see if he texts back before the end of the
There
show.
you go. There you go.
That's about it. Aaron Wright's Lawson McCarl. A lot of heavy hitters. It's going to
The
be.
thing that I noticed, so
I
when you
did all
touch,
those names and didn't read Brad Sweet, but you
I was
guys
just
can.
about to say, Brad Sweet was one that you might have missed. But again, more high limit versus outlaw people go into these races, and it makes that feeling just much bigger. Like it just adds to the pageantry of the weekend when you can get all of the big names in sprint car racing at the same site.
Well, you've got like gravel throwing shade to Brad Sweet over the broadcast on Friday night,
I
and I
noticed
asked him
that.
about it after the race, and he's like, "I respect him. Like he didn't have one bad word to say about him at all." And it's just like, yeah, let's poke some more fun. Let's do it because if you guys can ham it up for the TV, like that just makes the sport better, I think. And
That
you know,
that's my thing too. So I had this on here and I took it off for this week because it's a question and a conversation that we could probably have every single time that we do this show.
we could just do
E-
a segment where it's the same convo for
It's the
5 minutes
same
a show.
conversation. But are you buying into the hype that we have this high limit versus outlaw rivalry?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you got when you talk to Brad Sweet, he's not going to go and just absolutely trash David Gravel. You don't have, you know, David Gravel going and throwing absolute mud on Brad Sweet.
Yeah,
You know what
I'm advocating for it like it's the Crosstown Cup, right? Like I'm a Cubs fan. I loathe the owner. He sucks, and I still have issues with the Cubs, but it's fun. If they're playing the Whites, I never think about the White Sox. There's 3 days a year where I think about the White Sox. It's the series when they come to Chicago and they play for that stupid trophy. And yeah, I want to beat the hell out of the White Sox, but I don't think about them on October 4th. They're never in the playoffs. So,
I'm
yeah, I think. I view it like the same way. All these guys are probably thinking similar thoughts. Like I don't, they're probably if they're at all sprint car fans when they're not in the car, they're paying attention to high limit. But they, ultimately they don't care. But when they roll up at the track with them, hell yeah, I want to beat them. I want to do as best as I can. I want to beat everybody here. So I
Do
think
you
it's
think
kind
it's
of
a
like
bigger
that.
do you think it's a bigger magnitude than
Then the
the
Crosstown Cup, yeah, absolutely.
well that
Half the
too.
people don't even know
But
that trophy exists.
the posse versus outlaw or posse versus high limit. Do you think it's a bigger setting than that?
Yeah, yeah, because it's all at different racetracks and it's national tour against
I got
national tour instead of, local versus national or regional, if you want to call Pennsylvania that. You probably could advocate for it. But yeah, no, I think it's just everywhere and you have drivers from both sides that are high profile guys going at it. So
going into the weekend. I know we touched on this. There's a lot of big things to talk about, but what do you think if you had to pull one of the 50 different storylines going into the weekend, which one's the biggest headline?
oh, I'm gonna go back and I'm sorry guys, we're gonna get like more tuned in on the show. I'm kind of repeating myself a little bit, but it's those Californians that have struggled a little. I know Carson Macedo wants to be higher in the standings. I know Gio Scelzi wants to be higher in the standings.
To be fair, you never touched on this. You said I'm going to save it for later, so here's your
Oh,
opportunity.
good.
So,
And I know
so
myself too well. Yeah, like those guys need some good runs, and this track, this format, depending on the draw you get, could absolutely line you up to a season-changing weekend. And just, it didn't hurt Sheldon Haudenschild at all the year he won this race to have that money in his pocket. And it obviously won't hurt David Gravel at all to take more money from the rest of the Outlaws. So there's so many people that can win this race, and there's so many people that grew up racing in California that can be good at Husich, can be good on bull rings. Will this Husich track deliver, and will it be what they need to succeed, or will it be something to where Ryan Timms is going to, dust everybody off because of the weight he's able to throw around in the back of that car, right? So it it's going to be interesting, but I think at the very least, it's big opportunities for those guys to go do that in a really big event at a bull ring here.
I like that. I think one of the biggest headlines, obviously going in, is going to be David Gravel versus Kyle Larson. Larson runs really, really well at Houston when he gets the opportunity. David Gravel, like you mentioned earlier, is at a home track for his team. They're the name on the car. I mean, it doesn't get much more home track than that. But the one thing I kind of wanted to look at, and I really just have come into this realization more as we've been doing the show, but is your quote unquote regional guys going against the heavy hitters. This track a few years ago, if not even last year, we saw a lot of local regional type guys running up front in a bunch of the features. If
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
mistaken, I think Riley Goodnow was up front for a big chunk of the
yeah.
feature here. You know, Garrett Williamson obviously is on the Outlaw Tour now, but if I think last year he ran in the front of one of the features out there as well. So a lot of those what regional local guy is going to step up and be the story come Saturday night. That's kind of the headline I'm looking at.
Oh, I forgot Christopher Bell's on the entry list too. That's a big
Oh
one that I
yes.
probably should have put in there. Yeah.
Oh
My bad. I
yes.
just skipped past him, guys. That's my pick. That's my regional guy I want to do well. Uh, there you go. We'll see.
Yes. Regional driver, Christopher Bell.
Yeah, so I can't take a full-time high limit guy because Chase Randall got a big one at Houston on Sunday and knocked a monkey off his back. Needs to, keep that going. Hopefully that's some momentum
I think you
for
look
him
at a
going
guy like
forward.
Kerry Madsen as well.
I do.
He
Yeah, that's probably the guy we'll pick. At
he
least
just
the
had
guy
a
that's
big
most
run.
likely
Yeah,
to get up there because he has been really ripping and could use that. If you yeah. Yeah, I'll go Kerry Madsen. I'm gonna be interested to see what Ian Madsen does in the 2KS too, because they haven't had the smoothest of engines at Knoxville. You don't need a lot of horses to go fast at Houston, so it'll be interesting to see how he does too.
most definitely. Switching gears to the late model side of things, Connor. Points battles, getting a lot. Normally, when we think about late model points, the difference from first to second is huge. And sprint car points, the generally are a little bit closer. This year, it's kind of the opposite. Your Outlaw late models, I think, are separated by 88. Your Lucas Oil late models are separated by 15. And we're the things that we were just praising the sprint car world on are contradicting themselves on the late model side. With the Lucas Oil series running the Firecracker 100 out at Lernerville, the Outlaws are headed to Peevely for the whatever they call it there, Firecracker Face Off, I think is what they're calling it at Peevely. So points battles heading into the weekend for the late model side of things going to be, I guess, how important?
Yeah. Now remind me, they're doing the playoff with the 3 rounds at the end, right?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Can we? Yeah.
I guess we
What's
need to
the
look that one up,
what's
huh?
the next seg? Oh, we're doing that. I was gonna say let's look that up before I get too far into it.
Well, talk to us about the Outlaws side first. Bobby Pierce, your boy, leads by 88 points over Nick Hoffman. Big weekend in Peevely coming up. Why is Bobby Pierce so good in the summer months? When he comes to the summer races, it's whatever it is. Before he was a full-time outlaw, he won a lot of these summer races when he was running against the Outlaws. What makes the 32 so dang fast come the summer?
Yeah, I think it's the consistency. Really like you'd go out every night and you're qualifying so well and you can get in that redraw spot, then you're up there. And it sounds really dopey to just say, hey, we're going to qualify well, and that's going to be our bread and butter there. But that's what it is. That's what they do. They go out to these different tracks. They figure out how they're going to qualify well, and they go hit it exactly how they need to, and they move forward. But behind them, obviously Nick Hoffman, he's really shown more speed to me this year. I thought in the Dream, he did really well. Did he podium the Dream? Do I
Um,
remember that right? I think he might
I
have.
think you. I
I think it might
think
have been
you.
Davenport, Pearson, Hoffman. Yeah. So he's really impressed me. Not that I'm too shocked because he was damn good in a modified. One of the few guys I've seen sweep a season in the 27 years I've been watching motorsports across any vehicle, right? So that it's interesting to me. We'll see if Hoffman can make up any of that ground. But yeah, Bobby is just that good with the qualifying and early portions of the night. Okay, I looked this up and it is uh playoffs still. So they
Okay.
had, I think the first cutoff was the Show Me, and then the second one is July 12th at Lucas Oil, and then that goes top 12, and the next cutoff is 8. So um they are doing, I think the last cutoff race to determine the final four is Knoxville. And then there is one, two, three, four, five, 6 races in the final round. So kind of what people have been, pestering NASCAR to do if they're going to end the season at Phoenix every year.
Right.
But they're going to a model where they're rotating where the championship is at too. And I don't hate it either way. I still, guys, you can yell at me all you want. Tim McCready had a great point when they ran that winner take all. Here's 4 guys are tied going in. Whoever crosses the line first wins the title. One, they got paid more money than they got the year before. I think all the top 4 did.
Mhm.
2, that was the most talked about late model race that wasn't a crown jewel that I've ever heard of or watched in the last 10 years. And it wasn't close, like not at all close. And I know everyone's like, well, yeah, the stakes were that big. Yeah. I mean, that's what it did though. That was an October late model race that banged on a night where college football games were being played. Actually, it was rained out to Sunday, but it was still talked about
It was
so
still
much.
talked about.
Yeah. And it was a very a lot of turmoil in the feature, and it went really sour for some guys. But man, oh man, was that cool! I mean, I'm excited to see how this one turns out. I just couldn't remember the cutoff races over my head and wanted to make sure they were still doing that. But
Mhm.
yeah, no, so cutoffs a ways away still. But yeah, every point counts, man. You gotta make sure you're staying up in the top 4, and both Davenport and RTJ are nails everywhere they go. So we'll see how
Absolutely.
it turns out by the end of the year.
New segment we're debuting here today is called You In or You Out. Got 4 different segments that we're going to talk about today on this. If you agree with the statement, you're in. If you disagree with the statement, you're out. I guess, Connor,
You want
you
me to
in?
read the statements?
I'll read it for you if you
Okay,
want
you
me.
read it. Yeah, you read it and we'll go.
The points in national dirt scenes means something in the middle summer months. The June, July points mean something. You in or you out?
Yeah, 100% in. They count the same as they do in February. I'm a 162 games in a baseball season, right? Each one counts the same. So I'm in on that one.
I agree. I think the other part of that too is, we're talking about 88 points in the middle of June or early part of June, separating Bobby Pierce and Nick Hoffman. That could go one of 2 ways by the time we're done in August and by the time we're done in November.
It's only
Um,
like 2 spots a feature
really, right,
for the rest of the year. Yeah, if
right,
you put the schedule together and stuff. Yeah,
correct. June races in Knoxville are the mini nationals. You in or you out?
I'm completely out on this because of all the results you referenced earlier. Completely out.
Why? Give us your why to this.
Because the guy who won on Friday night might finish 14th or 21st or 24th. It has never, it's like the 360 Nationals. Those aren't the mini Nationals either. The guy that wins it rarely,
You
well, actually, the 360
you'll know
Nationals, no one's repeated and swept them both. So,
As someone who's been there both in the June and in the Nationals week, do you feel like the atmosphere though fits the mini Nationals?
Yeah, I was there, for sure. Yeah, I drank a beer with Hank Davis. Where else in the hell are you gonna run into that guy when he's not racing? So, yeah, no, I think so, and that's part of nationals too, is catching up with all your friends that you only see those 10 days of the year. So, yeah, I'd give you that if that's what you meant by that. I took it as results on the track, so that's why I said
It's a
out.
little bit of both, but more the outside the track, I guess. And I didn't elaborate that very well, but I would say more the outside stuff, just everything that I kept hearing. And that's why I'm in on this one, is because it gives you that preview for nationals. Is here's everybody in one place. Wasn't it 67 cars both nights again? Is that
64.
64?
Yeah,
So I knew it
something like
was in the
64.
60s. So 64 cars signed in for 2 nights in the middle of June. And then, like you said, where am I going to have a beer with people I don't normally see until
You
August?
can't just you can't just drop Hank Davis as people I don't normally see. That's like a Chili Bowl legend,
Right.
Hank Davis, all right? Prelim night legend at the very least.
Right. So that's my point behind this. I think it's more, you're getting people out to the track. And like you said, the stands on Saturday looked really good. And from a viewing standpoint, also looked really good when they showed the crowd. Was a really good crowd for a Saturday in June.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
David Gravel's weekend to lose at Huset's. You in or you out?
I'm out on this.
Really?
You have to have the perfect setup. And we've seen the likes of Gravel throw any of the top 15 sprint car drivers in there at any of the crown jewels, the last any not any of the sprint car majors, my list of four or five. They've had a bad night, going into the second night, going into the last night. They've had bad runs. All of them have. So I just is he a favorite? Yeah. Is he a contender? Absolutely. But it's not his to lose yet. He's gotta perform in the first night and get to Saturday first.
Even with the name of the speedway on the side of the car, you don't
Yeah, it
think
doesn't
he
mean you get reffed any differently. The Speedway's not reffing. They're not giving him his stuff.
I don't disagree, but I think the pressure's there.
I think it is too. But it he did he wreck in this event 2 years ago when Sheldon won?
Yeah,
I
because
think he
isn't
did.
that's when he
That's the
rolled
white
out
billion auto car, and we
and
were
they
kind of like thinking it was bad luck until he won with it last year. So yeah, that could happen again. I hope it doesn't to him. It looked like a nasty wreck if I remember it right. And we had that door swing open. You remember that? Like
yep,
anything could happen here
yep.
at any given moment. So yeah, I just don't think it's his to lose quite yet.
I kind of the more and more that I sit on this one, I kind of agree with you on this because the chances of them entirely missing the setup 4 nights in a row is slim to none.
Right. Yeah,
This is the
absolutely. They're going to
best
be up there.
this is the best outlaw team, and quite frankly, one of, if not the best sprint car team in the country right now. So it's hard for me to sit here and say that they're going to miss the setup 4 nights in a row. And that's why I'm kind of leaning with you on the being out on this, because the guy, they still have to go and perform, like you said. Luck, whatever you believe in, luck still has to be on your side. You don't win these things without a little bit of luck on your side. Um, so that part of it, I think though, it does amplify yourself a little bit. We just had this conversation about Brian Brown struggling at Knoxville. Everybody in those stands that are there on a regular basis with yourself hold that car to a little bit higher standard at Knoxville. I think this is the same to be said about gravel. Yes, he doesn't run at Huset's every week, but the name is on the car. The owner of your car owns that track. It's the same thing when we go to Jackson right after Nationals. We expect David Gravel to be the guy because of XYZ, I guess. But with you on being out, I kind of agree now more. Just looking at it a little bit more and diving into it, I have to agree on being out for his weekend to lose.
All right, I'm
And then this
excited for this next one.
this last one, rainouts and spaced out schedules hurt late model popularity. You in,
Uh,
you out.
I'm out. The only thing Space Out schedules has ever hurt is IndyCar and the NASCAR Truck Series, and there's a few others I'm forgetting in there. But we just had the Dream. It feels like it was yesterday. Still, that's kind of a CTE problem that I got that
Interesting.
I'm still learning about. Right. I'm half joking, but I have been hit in the head a few times. No one's ever accused me of being the smartest in the room or the sharpest knife in the toolbox. But yeah, no, I'm out on the spatial schedule. You had all these teams came together for these big races, and got in there and got out, and give them some time to reset. Give them. I want to see more special wraps. That's a big late model thing. They have a lot of special wraps over there, and I was very underwhelmed during the Dream. I'm going to be honest, Damon. I was very disappointed in the late model faithful.
So I'm gonna go contrary on you with this. I'm gonna be in on this a little bit
Okay, about
because
time you disagreed with one of these because I kind of thought we were set up the segment to be let's just fight about stuff, and
right.
you just
Well,
didn't
that's
want to
that's
take the other side.
but that's why I put this in. I went a little bit mild on the questions that I put in here today, or the statements I put in today, but
And you guys just wait till me and Damon are screaming at each other, and you got to turn
it's
your radio down.
we gotta turn the heat up a little bit at a time here. But I'm more in on this for the simple fact you think the dream just happened yesterday, and I'm sitting here thinking the dream happened. Like I didn't see a whole lot of publicity about it. You didn't see a whole lot of things to come even out of the event after the fact. Quite frankly, I'm sitting here, I don't even know who the hell won the race.
Yeah, it
You know,
totally snuck up on people. Davenport won,
I
and
kind of figured as much, but
Bobby Pierce got sent to the back, and then made a charge through the field. But by the time he got to the end, Davenport was way too far out in front to muster any kind of a race between the top two, and there was no late caution. So, yeah, I kind of put the kibosh on that. I know they were running it early in the night too, because there was weather coming in late, and
I just
that
think
always
even the
that always
lead up.
changes how those races go, like
I
how
think
many people
even
talk about them and stuff.
for me, the lead up to it wasn't even that big. There's been years past where I'm watching on Facebook or on TikTok or on social media or wherever I may find videos of drivers coming through the field winning the dream from back in the Bloomquist days, or Donnie Moran doing what he did, those kind of things. You're able to look back on and see those videos in previous years. This year that I didn't see that as much. I think maybe one or two, and it was Saturday morning of the final, and I'm thinking, oh hell, I didn't know that was this weekend. It was one of those things. The other thing that stands out to me, it's been since Memorial Day weekend that the Outlaws have had a show. The weather is canceled Lucas Oil last weekend at Smoky Mountain, and before that, everybody was at with the Dream. And there's been quite frankly four total nights ran in the month of June. The one flow racing event at Eldora, and then the three
Oh,
nights,
Eldora, yeah,
then the
yeah.
three nights.
It
So we're 16 days into the month of June, and we've only had four late model shows.
Yeah, no, I get it. I just think, it's the nature of rainouts, right? Like that's kind of just what happens sometimes. And none of these guys went up to Appalachian Speed Week. They were running up there, and I know they sent Kyle McFadden. I almost forgot your first name, Kyle. I don't know why. I don't even call him McFadden. I call him Kyle. But I know Flo sent Kyle McFadden up there. I mean, there's got to be, some interest in that speed week, and there's a good story out of there that I'll reference later. But um, yeah, it's just you're at the mercy of rainouts sometimes, and you gotta pray that Mother Nature helps you out in key dates, and sometimes she doesn't, and it just sucks. We're not too many years removed from that World of Outlaws getting rained out like 7 weekends in a row, like down in Louisiana at the Rev and all those races a few years back either. So yeah, hopefully they get them in this weekend, and everyone has safe travels, weather, all that stuff.
Moving on to our last news segment. We're going to try to continue to do this. I think this is something that we've talked about doing something similar to this before. That's part of the reasons before we've brought on such younger drivers, some local names, people that we don't necessarily see on a regular basis. But I think this gives us the opportunity to highlight those type of people more. But more in particular, Connor, what's a moment, a driver, the event from this past weekend that really stands out to you? It's the weekend shining light. What has been something that you sitting here on Monday look back from this weekend and you're like, this person, this moment, this event, whatever sticks out to you?
Yeah, I got two, so I'll do one first, and I'll come back to me. But my first one for the shining light is going to be Cam Martin picking up his first 360 win at Knoxville over the weekend. He's raced at Knoxville for a couple years now. He grew up as a kid at Knoxville, coming just to the track, living at the racetrack, right? And he got his first win with some of the most pace I've ever seen of a guy chasing and going and grabbing the first one and not letting anyone get in his way on the way there. Cool moment with him and his dad for the post race interview for that one too. But really proud of just how fast that kid was able to make that car. It was awesome.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't get to watch a whole lot of the weekly stuff at Knoxville. So getting to watch the 360s on Saturday night was really cool to see that pace, like you mentioned, with him. I think the big shining light for me, I also had two of them, but in particular, the one that stands out to me isn't necessarily the younger guy. It is Kerry Madsen and what he was able to do. We saw because that's the car that went on tour last year with High Limits, if I'm not mistaken, correct? That was the car that Wyndham drove a year ago.
Yes.
So, we didn't necessarily hear about that car competing at this top end level. They go back to their
You say the
roots.
50, you say the car Madsen's in? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
the
no,
55.
no, not the same car.
I thought it was the same group of people. Isn't
I
it the
could
same
I
group?
could be completely wrong on this. I'm trying to
I don't
think
know.
back.
I'm that's why I'm asking the
I
the
know Carey was starting this team a year ago. So I
was it
think they might be somewhat related, but I don't know for
I
sure.
wondered if they're not related because I thought it was all the Vermeer group and them together helping out.
Yeah, I think so. Okay. Yeah. No, I'm okay. See, I told you guys I got hit in the head a lot. I'd go
That's
with
why.
yes. I'd go with a
But
soft
but
yes.
regardless whether or not he's starting an entirely new team or getting back together with the Vermeer guys, the fact that he was able to not only run up front but truly contend for a win all night long. Because like you mentioned, the format doesn't just set it up easy for you to win at Knoxville any point in the year, including a regular Outlaw show in June. He had to go out and win the race and certainly had an opportunity to do that. The other one for me, also on Friday night, was really cool to watch Jamie Ball come from the B main in and actually drive into the show. That was really neat.
Yeah, it's awesome for Jamie. He's a buddy of ours, and just for him to be able to get in that race was cool. And he's struggled in the 360 this year, and we probably didn't make a big enough deal about making the Outlaw show, but he's that good of a driver. He expects to, and he knows he can. And it was odd. I don't want to put words in his mouth of what he told me from Friday, but uh, getting it into that from the B, like I knew he could when the lineup for the B came out was cool to see. And yeah, I expected it. I guess I can say that for sure. I definitely expected it. He might tell you that it was gravy and he'll just take it, but no, shout out to Jamie. That was good. Um, no, the other one, Briggs Danner, he was a teammate for the team that Ayrton Gennington drove for in the Chili Bowl, and met him a few years ago. That's how I met him. Not that they were teammates, or that is a wrinkle in the story that needed. Anyway, 23-year-old open wheel background, midgets, sprint cars, all that. He made his late model debut at that Appalachian Mountain Speed
Yeah.
Week at Sealands Grove. Um, sorry, it was at Bridgeport. Bridgeport, Selinsgrove Ford sponsors the week, and I just looked down and read that. So, but yeah, Briggs Danner made his late model debut over the weekend and won in that Speed Week race at Bridgeport. So I thought that was super cool. You don't see a lot of crossover between sprint car guys and late model guys, and anytime you do see it, I think it's badass. My personal fan dream is Donnie Schatz winning a World 100 just somehow. Yeah, maybe Briggs can do it in a few years if he stays doing a little bit of both because it'd be cool to see. Any type of crossover like that is really, really sweet to see. And I was kind of surprised. I guess I was shocked. I know he's talented, but you don't typically. The only other guy that went out and won in his first late model race was Kyle Larson. That was a pretty
Right,
big deal when it happened. So,
right.
big shout out to Briggs.
Absolutely. That's cool. I was reading on that a little bit today, just happened to scan through that. So I didn't realize his background though was in sprint cars and midgets. So that's
Yeah, it was
cool.
all open wheel stuff.
I'll be darned. That's neat. Well, what do we got coming up this weekend? Obviously, you're heading north, huh?
Yeah, I'll be at Huset's for the last 2 days. Heading up there with Josh, and we'll be up there. I wish we could go for. If anyone wants me to crash on their couch, I could get up there by Wednesday. Just hit me up, I guess. But yeah, no, gonna be a fun week at Huset's and a lot of great racing going on. You know, uh, Obviously along with it being um, Super Dirt Cup week out west. So two major sprint car events of the year, on the same weekend. And it sucks that they're the same weekend, but it's kind of like West Coast versus the rest of the country, in
Mhm.
terms of they got a couple that were here. Brent Marks, Corey Day going out to California for Super Dirt Cup. Why did I say California? Up to Skagit for Super Dirt Cup. And then the majority of the rest of the guys hanging around here at Houston. It's always cool to watch that race after Houston's is done because they're 2 hours behind on time zone. So I'm really excited for that, and I hope Bobby Pierce doesn't win too much because I don't need to drink that much up there, but we will if we need to.
Well, he's got two nights at Peevely coming up at I-55 and the Firecracker face off there. Then they get a quick trip to Independence on Monday. So we talked about the broken up schedule. I think I just counted it 7 races in the next 2 weeks coming up for the Outlaws on the late model side. So a lot of vendors going to be going at one another in the next
The
couple weeks.
Rockets,
And the Rockets having at it, right? Um,
absolutely.
Lucas Oil late models at Lernerville, Firecracker 100, the 3 nights there. And then something we haven't really touched on a whole lot, but the USAC sprint cars, they go to the Eastern Storm. 6 races, 6 nights out east. Anything you're looking for in that one? I think I
If
saw
I
a stat. I think I saw a stat in the 10 or the past 16 Eastern Storm points, 10 different winners. It's kind of
Really? Oh, I
yeah.
didn't. Okay. I would have guessed something different because what I remember about Eastern Storm is like someone always takes the reins and wins like half the races. And
10,
that's it. And it's
10
like
different
we're making sure this points title is wrapped up as quickly as we started talking about it.
yeah, 10
So that's
different
what I'm looking for. Who wins
champions.
the first night and do they repeat?
I had it pulled up here and I just lost it because refresh. Um, it was 10. I can't even find it. I know it was 10 different champions.
Probably,
To
or at least around since they
past
started doing that.
16. The past seven, here it is. Past 17 editions of the Eastern Storm have produced 10 different driving champions.
I don't think I would have guessed the number to be that high.
That's crazy to think about,
Yeah, no, absolutely.
especially when you got a guy like a Logan Seavey who runs that. You know, KTJ when he ran that all the time. Those kind of guys, right? Like they put out some big runners out there, and you would have thought they'd had more.
Yeah, and Kyle Cummins was leading points for USAC this year.
I
I
saw
mean,
that when I
he's
was doing that this morning.
he's really come on, and yeah, Briggs Danner's in the top 10 too. So, yeah, it'd be cool. I mean, there's 10 guys, 11 guys on this list. Really anybody. It's gonna be some good racing for USAC. I'm excited to see what that turns into.
No doubt. Looking forward to it. Busy weekend, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. Excited for you to get back up to Huset's. Did you get up there last year? Were you able to go last year for this?
Yeah, I think so.
Thought
Yeah.
so.
No, I was definitely up there.
I couldn't remember.
That wasn't the trip to Walmart to replace somebody's broken laptop cord though.
Fair enough.
Not mine. Don't
Are you sure?
I didn't get mad that I qualified poorly and slammed something. No, that wasn't
Oh,
me. So you
well,
guys can fill in the blanks. You'll probably figure it out at some point. No, thanks to anyone sticking around listening. We were gonna do this live. Damon was protesting with his camera on the StreamYard thing, so we couldn't do it live. But we'll put it out. It's Tuesday now. Yesterday, Josh Richards back in a Rocket One, looking to get back into uh, late model racing and kind of come out of retirement. So that you'll have heard about it by now by the time you listen to this anyway. But thank you guys, and yeah, always looking for partners. And if you have any questions about what this show is going to look like, we're still figuring out what we're going to do with the Patreon. But yeah, if you have ideas or stuff you want to see, things you want to see on shirts, run them by me either in person or Twitter. Just shoot me a message on there. But yeah, email address is in the pinned tweet as well on my account. So thanks again. Appreciate you, Damon. You got anything else?
no, I'm
Sorry, I
excited.
said that very aggressively. I don't know what got
No,
into there.
I don't have anything else. We've touched on everything we wanted to, and like I said, if you're interested in helping out, feel free to contact us, whether it be a sponsorship of one of our new segments that we've got, or you want to be a partner of the entire show. Feel free, reach out. Certainly looking forward to adding new people and getting your name promoted across all forms of motorsports.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. We'll see you. We're gonna do this weekly, so look for it first 2 days of the week. Won't it? We're gonna try to do it Monday nights, I think, and put it out Tuesday, and hopefully next week it'll be live. And we'll have interviews with guys. They're not gonna be attached to the episodes. We're gonna put them out separately, but it'll all be in the same feed, so you'll be able to easily access all of it. So, yeah, appreciate you guys again. I don't have a sign. I can't say "What's up, guys" twice. What was my old one, Damon? Do you remember?
I don't know, come up with something new. It's a new era.
Gosh, I about just said "fuck it." But anyways, thank you guys. See you at
Have
the
a great
racetrack.
week. How about that?
Yeah, have a great
Have a
week.
great week.
Have a great week. See you at the track. All right.